What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to the Uncommon Mindset podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very, very special guest. Today, I'm joined by Savannah Rose Marshall. I'll just give you a brief background on who Savannah is. Savannah is a British professional boxer who has held the WBO female middleweight title since October 2020. As an amateur, she became the first British female world champion after securing gold at the 2012 World Championships. She has been nicknamed as the silent assassin due to her shyness. However, don't get it wrong, this young, ambitious boxer is undefeated with a pro record of 10 wins and 0 losses. What an absolute uncommon individual she is, and it's such an honor to be joined by you today, Savannah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No worries. I just want to start off by asking, can you just talk to me about like when you got into boxing, why you got into boxing, like what did that look like?
I first started boxing when I was 11. I was always dead sporty, netball, football, things like that. And it was just through friends. Some of my friends used to box, and I just kind of tagged along, going to the gym. Didn't know anything about boxing, never watched it. No one in my family ever boxed. So for me, I think it was just this whole, just discovering something that I never knew anything about. I was intrigued about it.
Yeah. Was there many females boxing at that time when you started?
There wasn't any. No, There wasn't any in the gym that I went to. Actually, the gym was called Hartlepool Headland Boys Club, but I was quite lucky and fortunate that there was a girl from Hartlepool called Amanda Coulson, and at the time Amanda was England's #1 boxer. So she was, I can't remember how old she was. I think she was maybe 23, 24. And Amanda was like the face of female boxing in the UK at the time. So I was fortunate that I used to read about Amanda in the local paper and about her going to international tournaments and things like that. So seeing what could happen, obviously following Amanda's journey, I think that made me more excited about boxing than anything, really.
Did you have any like doubters at the time that doubted you, being like, why are you going into boxing? It's not a girls' sport, back in the days. Did you have anything like that at all, like even with your parents or anything like that?
Not from my parents, but I think maybe I did. There's nothing that really stuck in my mind, but I'm quite, I wouldn't say ignorant, but I'm very, if you don't mean anything to me, then I'm not really interested in what you've got to say. And I've always been like that. And don't get me wrong, there probably was people that would say stuff, especially in school, things like that. But like I said, because they weren't my friends or family, I was never interested in what they had to say anywhere.
Mm, mm. I know that you've had such a great amateur career yourself, and I know this person always pops up whenever you have a chat with anyone. Claressa Shields, right? You're the only person that's beat her in amateurs. The story about that is actually amazing. I heard it the other day. Do you just mind like sharing that story just for the listeners on how that whole process happened?
Yeah, so basically I remember going to a tournament, and it was in China in 2012. And I remember getting there, and it was the only qualification tournament for the Olympic Games in London. So basically you had to get so far in the tournament to qualify. So when I got there, I remember everyone talking about this new American on the team, um, that she'd never been beat. And I always remember this. I think they were like, oh, she's just featured on the Times magazine, the front cover. And I didn't know anything about that, but I remember people saying, oh, to be on that magazine, it's like a pretty big deal, and this and that. And I just remember we got the draw, and my draw was Savannah, you're boxing the winner of India and USA. And I just remember thinking, oh God, typical. I've drew the favourite. This is it. My Olympic dream is over. And that was that. And I just remember probably for about 2 days or something, I just my mindset was all over, and I remember just thinking, oh, this is great, it's typical, what's the point, I'm going to get beat, this and that. And then all of a sudden, it was just like I don't know what it was, a flick of a switch. My whole mindset just changed, and I went from that to, right, well, she's not going to take my Olympic dream away from me. Who is she? You know, she's never boxed anyone like me. I'm not just going to give it away. She's gonna, if she wants this spot, she's gonna have to kill me for it. And then obviously I beat her. I beat her quite comfortably. And then that mindset just stuck with me for the whole tournament. I beat world champions, European champions. I beat the favourites. I think I had 6 fights in the space of something like 10 days, and every one of them was a notable champion, or I'd won something. And then I went on to win the actual tournament and become Britain's first female world champion.
That's incredible. Yeah. You know, you mentioned that you had the mind switch. Did you have that mind switch? Was it in the ring, or was it just before you walked out to fight Claressa?
It was probably the day before I boxed.
Hmm.
And I couldn't tell you what it was or anything like that. I just remember going from one extreme to the other.
Hmm.
And I think maybe it was because actually reality had hit, and it was like, well, what you're gonna, you know, throw everything away you've worked for, all the hard training. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I kind of just went from this throwing it away, or I've been beat, what's the point, to no, she's only got 2 arms, 2 legs.
To the silent assassin.
Yeah, that she's got what you haven't. And then that was that. And then, like I said, I was just on fire that tournament. Nobody could touch me.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And I know that, you know, when you became pro, your first fight was on the undercard of McGregor Mayweather, right? Such a huge card. Like everyone in the world, nearly everyone probably watched that fight. What was that feeling like? Was there any nerves? You know, with everything going on, like what did that feel like?
That was an amazing feeling, because previous to that, just finishing 2016 Rio Olympics, I was ready to walk away from the sport. So I had no ambition of turning pro. I'd started to hate boxing. I didn't enjoy it. Didn't enjoy competing anymore. Didn't enjoy the training no more. So I was ready to retire. And then, lo and behold, I got offered a contract from Mayweather Promotions, and for me, it was just wow, this isn't over. Someone upstairs doesn't want me to finish. So from then on, I could honestly say, since I turned pro, I've never been nervous. I've never felt nervous. I've never been sick. I've never doubted myself. It's all, I think it's because the way I see it is, it's all a plus. I never had dreams to turn pro. I never wanted to turn pro. So this is all just an extra for me, really. And I think that kind of mindset has just made me fall back in love with the sport.
That's crazy. Like imagine like you quit. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, shame that would have been. Wow, insane. And I know that obviously once you got done with that fight, you came back to the UK, right? And you've been training with Peter Fury, Tyson Fury's uncle. What what's that like? Because you know, that must be incredible, right? Being around, you know, someone like him, being around Tommy Fury, and I don't know if you've met Tyson yourself, but being around people like that, what's that like?
Yeah, I have met Tyson, but so obviously I train with Peter and
Mm.
his son Huey. So I don't really I remember, I think I had 1 or 2 sessions with Tyson, and then obviously Tyson and Peter went their separate ways. So I've just always been with Peter, but I do think that Peter's influence in the way he is and the way he looks at life has had a massive impact on the psychology side to my boxing. With Peter, it's like there's 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 no there's there's no solution. There's nothing that can't be fixed. There's nothing that is good enough to stand in your way. And I think Peter has really rubbed off on me. Especially, I've been with Peter now 4 years, and I can see he's had a massive impact, not just on my boxing career, but also my personal life.
Is he kind of like you know what Cuss was like with Mike Tyson, with the overconfidence, telling Mike that no one's going to beat you, you're the greatest. Is Peter like that in a way? Like, does he give you that talk?
No, not really. It's what it is with Peter is that there's no, he's never filled me full of false hope, and he's very straight. So if I'm doing something wrong, even say for instance, even if I'm having a spar, he'll say, "Right, your footwork was terrible there," or "You're not doing this." It would
Yeah.
never be, "Oh, you sparred brilliant. This is going well." Do you know? He's never. There's always improvement with Peter, always, and there's always another dimension. Like even after, I remember after my world title fight, I was straight back into camp, and you'd think you'd just won a world title and everything, you're the best you can be. And I remember going in the gym and we done pads, and it was teaching me something that I'd never done before. It was
Mm.
like, right, we're going to start doing this now. And it was like, well, I'm a world champion. Why wouldn't you just polish me up? But no, it's never like that with Peter. There's always something new. There's always something to improve on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I know that what he's so confident in you though himself, because that one time when was it when he got the coronavirus, he said to you, "Look, even if I'm not there, you go out and still fight," right? Like he's confident in your boxing skills, of course. No, that's amazing. And I was listening to the story you told about sparring Tommy Fury that one time.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, that was my first introduction to pro boxing. And I remember Peter going, saying to Tommy, "Oh, Tommy, do not hit her. Don't you dare touch her. You just work on your defence." And at the time, I remember thinking, "Oh, I'm going to absolutely batter him here. I'm going to batter him." And honestly, I couldn't touch him. He was slipping like the Peter Fury style.
Mm.
And it just made me look stupid. And I was over trying, and I was swinging, and he was just on another level.
Yeah, yeah. What are your goals at the moment then? Because I know the biggest fight at the moment for you would be Clarissa, right? Um, like that's what everyone wants to see. That would literally be would be crazy. Is that your goal? Is it to fight Clarissa again?
Um, so this is the thing with that. Yeah, it is a goal. I'd love to fight Clarissa again, but it's it's one of them. Like you can look at it in the aspect of Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. That
Mm,
is the fight everyone wants to see. Is it going to happen? Not in a minute. Is it
mm,
going to happen in the future? Who knows? I'd love for that fight to happen for Clarissa, but we both don't box for each other.
yeah,
So, unless that contract's sat in front of me and we're both ready to go, then I'm just doing what Peter tells me. I'm in the gym. I'm waiting for my next fight date, no matter who that may be. And I've kind of learned that you can't base your career on someone else because, like I said there, look at the Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua fight. I mean,
mm,
Tyson's fighting someone else now, and then Anthony Joshua's just like left. Like, well, look, I've put all these months and time and effort into wanting to fight this fight when it's not happening. So I
yeah.
don't want to be left like that, relying, hoping on that fight to happen with her.
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like the longer, even if it stays like longer, you guys don't fight, the bigger it gets in a way, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it does. It
um,
definitely does.
yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, have you set yourself any other goals then, or is
So at the minute, I'd love to unify. I'd love to unify the division. I'd love to get all the belts. Um, not just not. Uh, Also just for my friends and my family, and in the future if I ever have a family of my own, and
mm,
kind of like history type thing. But at the minute, I'm looking to box the back end of July and just go from there. Really, just taking each day as it comes. Uh, yeah, just be as active as possible. I mean, I've had ever since I've turned pro, there's always been things in my way. There's always been obstacles. There's always been issues.
mm.
Um, so at the moment, I think it's just for me. It's just about staying active. That's what I want at the minute.
Have you fell out of like the love of boxing recently, or because like you felt like that at the end of your amateur career, right? Has that been any? any part of your pro career at all?
No, not as a pro. If anything, I fell out of love with the business of boxing. I
Mm,
don't like the business side. I hate it.
yeah,
But the whole passion and love for boxing, yeah, that's been there since I turned pro. Really, I enjoy it. I love training. I think I've got it in me to always train, even when I'm not retired, even when I'm retired from the sport. But yeah, just the business side really leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And to be honest, it took me a good while. I'd say a good 2 years to get my head around it and what it's about.
yeah. Do you think that female boxing has like grown over the years? Do you think it's going to keep growing?
I do definitely, and I had a conversation recently with someone, and I'd said I feel like the pro female boxing is bigger now than the amateur side.
Mm,
And who I was talking to disagreed with me, and maybe when I thought about it, maybe it's because I'm not involved in the amateur side no more. I'm not taking note of who's winning what tournaments and who's coming through. And because I'm involved in the pro side, I'm seeing a lot more pros come through, a lot more pros get talked about. So definitely, it's definitely on the rise. I mean, you can't look anywhere else. But you're scrolling through Twitter and you're seeing that someone's turned over, someone's turned pro. On
mm,
Instagram, you're seeing, people have got fights coming up, and there's just so many outlets now. There's not just Sky and BT. There's
mm.
TV. There's that thriller.
Thriller, yeah,
Um, there's all sorts going on. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely grown.
I was speaking to one of my managers in work, and like he absolutely loves boxing, and he said to me, and he's such a huge fan of yours as well. He's probably going to freak out that I'm talking to you, but he said he likes watching female boxing more than male boxing at the moment. He said there's just something about it at the moment. It's like it just keeps growing. It's incredible, and I agree with him 100%. Like it's with Courtney Bridges, just all these people like Natasha Jonas, yourself, of course, is amazing. Would you ever go into mixed martial arts or any other combat sport at all?
Yeah, I had a little go. To be honest, I had a little go of MMA. A bit. You know what I do like? I like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I really like the groundwork and that. But at the minute, I've just turned 30, and I've dedicated my whole life to boxing. I've boxed since I was 11. Like I said, it's all I've ever done. So at the minute, I'm at the point where I want to pursue other things in life. I don't just want to train and fight. There's other things I want to do, and I did have the thought of, oh, should I have a little go in the octagon, have a little go at that? But now I think there's just so much to mixed martial arts. It's not as straightforward as boxing, where you've got your jab, your backhand, your
Mm.
hook. You've got your chokes, you've got your takedowns. There's so many elements to it, and at the minute, I don't think I want to dedicate, because you're going to have to a good 3 or 4 years of your life
Mm.
to learning of the sport. But who knows? Never say never.
Never know. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Just a few more questions. I know you're busy, so I'll keep it short. What was it like, growing up in a male-dominated sport? Did you ever feel left out? Were you just always confident? Because I know in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because I do MMA myself, right? Sometimes when there's girls on the mats in Jiu-Jitsu, the boys don't want to pick to partner up with them.
Yeah.
Is it like that in boxing at all? Like, did you ever feel like that yourself?
Um. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I mean, there was times, even now when I spar, you get the men that don't want to hit you.
Mm,
Um. That just feel awful for sparring, or you get the men that absolutely want to knock you out and kill you. There's always two sides to it. But I remember when I had a little go of that MMA, like bit of groundwork. Even I think I remember saying to my friend, I was like, "Oh, this is a bit intimate," because of the holes and the way you are, and it
yeah.
is totally different a boxing. Um, but yeah, I've always had that, but I think I'm just used to it now. It's just part and parcel of it. I think you get them men that don't want to hit you, and then when you catch them, their instinct kicks in and fight back a little bit, and But then when you do get the men that try and kill you, that is when it's a coach's responsibility to be like, hang on a minute, she's a woman. She might be able to hit hard, but she's still a woman. She's not built like a man. You know, a bone density. I mean, I always think about my health, especially like my skull isn't as thick as a man's. And although, you know, I know I can hit hard, and although I'm digging at a man, and like I said, instinct's going to kick in. He's going to try and hurt me back, because that is the role of the sport. And I do think, well, look, I'm not built to take your power. I'm just not. Although I'm game, and you know, I'll try and hit you back, and I'll try and get you back. There's that aspect of it, is that my health's going to suffer. Like I said, my skull's not as thick as a man's. I'm not built like a man. And although I can dig, I maybe can't take the power of a man.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Do you spar often then when you're coming up to a fight? Because I know a lot of fighters recently, they've stepped away from sparring a lot because of all the, you know, the health aspects of it, just constantly being hit. What is your training camp look like? Does it include a lot of sparring in it?
Yeah, a lot of sparring. We spar 3 times a week.
Wow.
But I think that is what has brought me on sparring. I mean, I used to hate sparring, and it's got to the point now where I quite enjoy it, because I think that it's easier than the other types of training Peter does. So the fighting's actually easier than the conditioning and the other stuff that Peter has me doing. So if we're not sparring, I know we're in for a hard session, even though sparring's hard.
Yeah.
But so there is that side where I feel like the sparring and the amount of sparring I do has brought me on. But it's about getting that balance, because, like you said, the health thing is important than anything.
Of course, yeah. Just 2 more questions now before I let you go, Savannah. What would you like advise to young females that want to start, you know, boxing, or even males, you know, that are maybe afraid or they don't know how to start? Like, what would you advise them?
Boxing's great.
Mm,
I mean, you don't even have to spar. Like, I know people who could go to the gym regularly, hit the bags, do the pad works, do the conditioning. I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant for confidence.
mm,
Not just even boxing. I mean, look how popular CrossFit is now for females.
mm.
So just train it, just training and being in the gym overall is it's great. It just builds your confidence so much, I think.
Yeah, I think you forget about the real life world in a way once you're training. That's what I feel like. I forget about everything else, even if I'm having a bad day. When I'm in training, I'm just zoned out. It's amazing. Yeah,
It's great.
100%. Yeah. And last question now for you. What would you say has been your biggest achievement so far?
Um, my biggest achievement so far in boxing. Ooh. Do you know what I would actually say? So, do you know, when I said that I struggled a lot with learning the business side of pro boxing, I would actually say that year, from leaving Team GB after 2016 Olympics to turning pro,
Mm,
and obviously I was leaving lottery funding, which I was getting on Team GB, to turn pro, to having all these ambitions and aspirations of being part of the money team, and thinking that was this pro boxing world was full of glitz and glamour, and just finding out that it's just not like that. It's hard work.
mm,
I mean, you're doing 4 rounders for a couple of grand, and then you're having to wait, and you're still having to train full time, and you're not getting paid. And it's, like I said, I don't want to say I was lucky, because I've always worked hard, but you were looked after on Team GB, very looked after. You had physios, doctors, private healthcare, equipment, everything you could think of. And then you turn pro, and it's like you're left on your own, you know.
mm.
That was my biggest achievement. Obviously, moving to America on my own, learning all this about pro boxing, and just sticking at it. Just sticking at it. And I just remember thinking, oh, it'll get better. It's going to get better. this can't be it. You can't just be given this great opportunity to turn pro, have this great debut, and then for it to just all turn to crap.
Mm.
So I'm just, that's my biggest achievement, just sticking at it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not just that. I mean, I come home, I never boxed for, I don't think I boxed for about a year after my debut because of complications with my contract and things like that. So there was plenty of times I could have walked away. Even I was meant to box for a world title just before COVID, and the show got pulled 2 weeks before. And then for me thinking, right, my show was the last show to be pulled, surely I'll be one of the first people to be on Fight Camp. And I wasn't, and I had to sit and watch every other matchroom female box, thinking, when is my opportunity going to come? And then obviously it did with Hannah Rankin, and then that was that. It kind of started to build up my momentum again. But just going through all that, for me, that I'm proud of myself that I stuck at it and just didn't throw my toys out the pram and leave the sport, because there has been plenty of times when I've thought, you know what, this isn't worth the stress.
Yeah, I think that's what separates people, right? Some people would quit in that situation, and champions like yourself, you know, a mindset that you have. That's why it's amazing just talking to you, because I do deem you as an uncommon individual. It's amazing, honestly. Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Savannah. Honestly, I really can't wait to see, you know, what the future holds for you. It's definitely a bright one. Just stick at it, like you said. But yeah, what I'll do is I'll leave all of your social media down below so people can go and check you out. But yeah, thank you so much again, and all the best for the future as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.